Hello friends, welcome to Storytime with Mary and Molly. Today's story is about a boy named Peter. Peter really wanted to earn real money like grown-ups do. When Peter is hired by Farmer Johnson, Peter must make a decision. Will he follow Farmer Johnson's instructions, or will he do it his own fast, easy way? Friends, if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do that now and click on that bell so you can receive immediate notification every time we post a new video. Presenting Peter and the Pumpkin Seeds.
"Mother," said Peter one day, "I wish I could earn some money." "Well, dear," said Mother, "aren't you earning money now? You help me with little jobs, and I give you some money every week." "Yes, I know, but I mean some real money, like the grown-up people get. Wages, you know, Mother." "Oh, well, you'll earn wages, I hope, when you grow up," said Mother. "There's time enough for that." "But I want to earn some now," insisted Peter. "Couldn't I go over to Mr. Johnson's farm and work for him?" "Well, I suppose you could, if he would give you work. But you're only a little boy yet, you know. I doubt that he would be bothered with you." "But won't you ask him?" pleaded Peter. "Just ask him. He can only say no."
At long last, after much persuasion, Mother promised to see what she could do about it. Next day she talked to Farmer Johnson, and he agreed that Peter could spend 1 week of his vacation on the farm, working each morning for an agreed sum with play in the afternoon if he did his work well. Peter surely felt grown up when he set off with his little bag containing his pajamas, hairbrush, toothbrush, and other things he needed to go to work for the first time in his life. Farmer Johnson gave him a cheery welcome and set him to work at once doing odd jobs around the house. Then one morning, when the time came to begin to work, Farmer Johnson told Peter that he had a very special task for him that day.
"Oh, yes," said Peter, all excited. "Of course I will. What is it?"
"Come along with me, and you will soon find out." First of all, they went through the farmyard, where Farmer Johnson picked up 2-gallon pail full of pumpkin seeds. Then together they walked out to one of the fields, which was all ready for planting. Peter wasn't quite sure what was it all about, but guessed that his job would have something to do with that seed. Maybe he would have to carry the pail while Farmer Johnson planted it. "Now look," said Farmer Johnson. "Do you see this field?"
"Yes," said Peter meekly. As he spoke, he thought he had never seen such a big field in all his life.
"Well, now I want you to plant this pumpkin seeds in this field, and I want it done very carefully."
"You mean me?" said Peter, not sure if he had heard correctly.
"Yes, you," said Farmer Johnson. "I want you to walk down this first furrow, and every 10 paces put in 3 seeds and cover them with the earth."
"Yes, Mr. Johnson," said Peter, proud to have a real job at last.
"You understand just how I want it done."
"Yes, 3 seeds in each hole and 10 paces between holes."
"That's a good boy," said Farmer Johnson with a smile playing around his weather-beaten face. "I think I'll be going now. Oh, by the way, as soon as you have finished, you can go and have a swim."
"Oh, thank you, Mr. Johnson," said Peter eagerly. "I won't be long."
"I wonder," said Farmer Johnson to himself, as he left and went to his other tasks. Meanwhile, Peter set to work in earnest.
3 seeds, 10 paces, 3 seeds, 10 paces, he said. Then he murmured to himself as he moved slowly down the long row. 3 seeds, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 3 seeds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 3 seeds.
At last he reached the end of the row and turned eagerly to look back to where he began. He could hardly see the spot. It was so far away. Then he looked at his pail and his heart sank. It seemed just as full as when he had begun.
"Why," he said to himself, "I've put in all those seeds, and yet it seems as though I haven't used any. I'll have to work harder still if I'm ever going to get that swim."
So he moved over to the next furrow and began his long, slow journey back to where he began. Again it was 3 seeds, 10 paces, 3 seeds, 10 paces. Finally, the second row was finished, and once more he looked at his pail. He felt like crying. Truly, the level of the seed had gone down a little, but oh so little. He was getting just a wee bit tired now, and more than a wee bit hot. And as he looked at the huge pile of seeds yet to be planted, he told himself that he never would get that swim Farmer Johnson had promised him if he continued this way. Just then, a very naughty thought came into his mind.
"I wonder whether it would matter," he said to himself, "if I were to put in 4 or perhaps 5 seeds each time. That would get the pail emptied much faster, and Farmer Johnson would never know about it, not when the seeds are covered over."
He thought about it a while, looked up at the sun, felt himself getting hotter and hotter, thought again of the swimming pool, and decided to do it. Now his rate was 5 seeds, 10 paces, 5 seeds, 10 paces. At last he came to the end of the third row, and turning, worked his way back to finish the fourth. But alas, even then the pail seemed almost as full as before. Tired and discouraged, Peter sat down.
"He shouldn't have given me such a big job to do. He must have known I could never plant all these seeds and still have a swim. He didn't mean for me to have a swim at all. I know he didn't, but I can't tell him that I couldn't finish the job. I'll go on and on and on till... But let me see, if it was all right to put 5 seeds in, why shouldn't I put in 6 or 7?
And that is what Peter did, all up and down the next 2 rows. It was getting late now, and even 7 seeds in a hole didn't seem to empty the pail any faster.
"I don't care," said Peter to himself. I'm going to empty this pail whatever I do, and I'm going to have my swim. I'll put a whole handful of seeds in every time."
He started off once more, tired and ill-tempered. And this time it was 10 paces handful, 10 paces a handful. At this rate, of course, the pail was soon emptied. With great relish, Peter turned it upside down and hurried away to the swimming pool. But somehow the swim was no fun at all. He had a strange, uncomfortable feeling inside. Just what it was or why it was, he could not say, but it was there just the same. Farmer Johnson hailed him and asked him whether he had finished the job.
"Oh, yes," called Peter. "All done." But again, that strange feeling bothered him.
"Good for you," said Farmer Johnson. But the words didn't do Peter half the good they usually did. That night he went home. Mother asked him how he had enjoyed himself, and he said,
"All right."
but inside he felt that he was not all right. He kept worrying about those pumpkin seeds, and suddenly it dawned on him that they would all come up. Until that moment, he had never thought about that. Of course they would come up. He went hot and cold all over. Then he got on his knees beside his bed and asked God to kill some of the seeds and not let them grow. But they were growing even as he prayed. In a few days, they were all above ground. Just then, Farmer Johnson took a little walk to find out why it was that Peter had finished his job so much sooner than he had expected him to. He smiled, a strange little understanding smile. They didn't meet again, Peter and Farmer Johnson, until the next time they went to church. Now it so happened that Farmer Johnson went in one door and Peter went in the other door. Peter thought it was the day of judgment. If he could have done so, he would have turned and run. But something kept him riveted to the spot. He could see nothing but Farmer Johnson and behind him millions of pumpkin plants. His lips began to quiver. Farmer Johnson saw and understood perfectly. He had a kind heart, and he knew at once that Peter had learned his lesson. "Don't cry," he whispered as he came very close to Peter's ear. "Just remember that the seeds you sow in life always come up. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." He squeezed Peter's hand in forgiveness, and Peter wished that he could walk out of church right then and there and plant that field all over again. Friends, we hope you enjoyed this story, and don't forget to tune in next time for another amazing true story.
Just remember, friends, the seeds you sow in life will always come up. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Bye!